Check your 6. Nomad is back. This is the Nomad. John Aker here. Today I'm going to be talking to you about VoiceAttack software. Pushing buttons, flipping switches without moving your hands. Just your voice. Isn't it maddening? You look down into the cockpit for a switch or a button to push while you're flying that Hornet around, and the next thing you know is your nose first into the dirt, crashed because you couldn't find that switch. That actually happened back in the day when I was going through flying school. I wasn't at the base, but at Williams Air Force Base on the southeast side of Phoenix. They were flying the F-86 Saberjet. Flight of 4, an instructor, 3 students, at least two of which were foreign students, apparently with some limited English problems. They were on a gunnery range. One of the foreign students asked his other friend in their native language where a switch was. This came out later in the accident investigation. Asked for a specific switch, and the student told him. He says, "It's so-and-so, look down there." He put his head in the cockpit looking for it, and that's the last he did while he's alive. He augured in on the gunnery range and killed himself. So would you like to find a way to get rid of that problem, at least part of the problem, of looking down in the cockpit hunting for switches? That's what this is all about. It's a software program called VoiceAttack. It's all one word, abbreviated VA. I'm going to talk to you about that for a few minutes. We'll go through the software interface, how to set things up, and what sort of things you might want to include. And then I'm going to put us in the cockpit, and we're going to exercise that program and throw switches and do all sorts of neat stuff while we're looking out through the HUD. Okay, there's a icon down here on my desktop, this red one. It normally resides over here on my secondary monitor, which is sitting over to the right. I moved it over here just to show it to you. If I double click it, it contains the launch shortcuts for a batch of flight simulator related programs, and this is the window it would have opened. And I'm going to stow that icon back over here on my other panel where it belongs, or I'll never find it tomorrow. VoiceAttack, Track IR, DCS, World, and a number of software. Yeah, we want it to work over here, so we tell it yes. And I'm going to drag this screen back over out of the way where it belongs. And gonna have to reopen that. There we go. Here's the main screen. I've only got one profile created so far. You can mouse over these, see what they do. They're pretty explanatory. They'll give you a bunch of shortcuts. If you want to edit your profile, there's a shortcut up here. It's Alt-E, the letter E. It brings up this one, and this is what my profile looks like. The categories. I don't use the shortcut one, but a spoken command, the description, the category, and the actions it takes to execute this command. Now realize that these have to be set up as keystrokes in your profile for the airplane. Clicking on these, let's do this one. Clicking on these will alphabetize them by category. I have several categories I've assigned: aircraft, attack, comm, defense, function keys, MFIs, or the DDIs. And this gets to be kind of a pain because there's 2 DDIs and each one has 20 buttons, so you're going to have to set up something. If you want to do this, I suggest you go back and look at my first video and the download for it. That was on the FA-18 Hornet, And in that document that's available to you, I show you how and what I set up for these. It's fairly simple, and there are no conflicts that I know of. They never came up with setting 40 keyboard commands to punch those buttons around the DDIs. Yeah, let's go back over to spoken command and re-alphabetize it in order of the commands. When you buy this, it's first thing the creator says is download the free copy. It's not a crippled version, but you're limited to one profile, and test it out. If you like it, if it works, you pay for the upgrade, the key to launch this one. It's $10 USD, US dollars. Right reasonable. Also, as you go through this and load it, it will suggest you talk to the software and train it. Do not skip that step. It's vital. The software is designed for you to read a sentence that comes up on the screen, click next, read the next sentence, and if it doesn't understand you, you'll have to do it again. But it trains the software to recognize your voice, your volume or inflection, any accents you might have. It's worth the time, and it doesn't take. If you go through a couple of those exercises, you're probably going to spend 20-25 minutes, and it's well worth it. Okay, some of the warnings I'm going to give you. Let me scroll down here. I'm looking for TechAN. Well, I don't see it at the moment, but let's look at this one. I use the prefix up to remind me I'm giving commands to the UFC, the upfront control panel, all those buttons and the keypad and so forth. So it's up 1, up 2, so forth. I got to the 0, and I spelled out 0, Z-E-R-O. For the life of me, I could not get the software to understand me. It would not execute that. Just yesterday, I came back to this. I used the word nil for nothing, N-I-L, and that worked. But it was kind of off, so I came up with the idea of splitting the word. 0, 2 words, and it does understand that better. I can't find the straight TechAN command, but here's one. Is a multi-step program. There are several keystrokes involved in this one, but the typical spelling of TechAN, T-A-C-A-N, is difficult with my voice to get the software to understand it. I broke it into 2 words. Tack is in that sharp little tack, and a girl's first name, TechAN. Set TechAN, and it will read that. That's one of them I'll show you. Sidewinder, Sparrow, target lockup, those are pretty obvious. They call up the particular weapon or command to reach out and grab a target. ILS. ILS, is it going to be up here? Seems like it ought to be alphabetized in here somewhere. Don't see it right now. I first typed it, the letters together, ILS. It had trouble with that. Separate them with spaces, I space, L space, S space, when you create the command. And we're going to look at that screen in just a moment. There are little shortcuts like this that you need to build in. Another one in that upfront display is the off-on button. For the life of me, that is one I cannot get the software to recognize in my voice. So I came up with the word activate instead of off on or off on, either one of them. I've included the function keys, F1, F2, through F10, 11, 12, because I've got 12 function keys on my keyboard. Why do I want those? They're right handy when you go on the radio. All those commands are executed with a function key. Where was I just saw here? Active pause. I originally had that as 2 words, active pause, and I cut that back to just 1. Now I say the word pause, and it's a toggle. Pause, it puts active pause on. Repeat the word pause, and it toggles it off, and you're back in. All right, let's see. New command, get there this way. Or the shortcut for that is Alt, the letter N, as in November, Alt N. And here's where I create them. I'm going to create one. I do not have a command built in here for toggling the canopy open and close, so let's do that. I type in all capital letters. Just makes it more readable. My fat fingers are not typing well today. Okay, go down and here's the key press to run it. The key combination for toggling the canopy open and controls is the left control key and the letter C, Charlie. So I'm going to tap left control. Left control. I'm going to tap C. Comes up, that's the combination. And notice here you can tell it to press and release keys, which I want it to do in this case. It's going to hold them down for 0.15 seconds. You can also tell it to hold keys down. One of them I use that in is nose wheel steering. If I want to go to the high steering, I tell it to press and hold the letter S, and that gives me the more active nose steering. You can tell it when to release keys, toggle keys. You get some variables. So I put those in. Left Alt C, tell it OK. Come back here. Canopy, open, close. I have categories. You saw those a minute ago. I'll put this one in the aircraft category. And I abbreviate that one as CFT. I'm not going to get into any of these at the moment. I'm going to click OK. Now, don't go jumping into the plane and trying to get that to work, because it's not going to. You need to either click Done to leave this screen or click Apply if you're going to put another one on there. I'm going to click Apply, and we'll just look at this. Here's my new command I just put in there. Okay, we're done with that. You might want, they recommend, if think so, you can turn the recognition on and off. I have a combination key set up. I just clicked it, and listening is now suspended. Anything I say is not going to be even looked at by VoiceAttack. It's a toggle, so I'll do it again and tell it to resume that listening. So there is a quick and dirty look at the interface for voice command. If you're interested, I'm going to, when I post this video, I'm going to put a HTML listing of these commands that I've got set up, and you can take a look at it. I think you're probably best if you do the entries yourself to implant them in your mind, help you remember them. I've got some shortcuts that may not seem logical to you. Feel free to change them if you want. So that's pretty much it for the software. Buy the or download the trial version, set up a profile, train it, give it a shot in the cockpit, and I think you'll probably want to spend the $10 US dollars to upgrade to the full version so you can create multiple profiles. I'm going to step out of this one now, and we will pick up back in the Hornet cockpit and take a look at how this works in the cockpit while you're flying. See you over on the other side. Hang in there, Nomad's out for the moment. When the mission comes up, I'm going to pause it as soon as it does, because we don't have time to get everything set, and since we're only 12 miles from the carrier. Pause, and active pause is on. And since the head tracker, Track IR, is working, I'm going to freeze it so that we can look at these screens. My cursor is going to be jumping around the screen just to bring your attention to what I'm doing, but I'm not going to be using it to enter these commands. They'll all be voice commands through VoiceAttack software. I'm going to put the HUD up on the right DDI. I want that button. Right push 18. It pushed that button. The HUD's over here at button 3. Right push 3. Right push 3. Takes a while. I had a previous a word to indicate all of these buttons, and it didn't like it too well, so I changed it to the word up, UP. The up reminds me those are the up front control buttons. Let's bring up the TACAN. Up TACAN. It's up. The frequency is 74. X-ray. Up 7. Up 4. Up enter. And turn it on. Up activate. It's on. I could not get VoiceAttack to understand on or off in my voice. I found activate works. We're set there. Might as well turn on the ILS while we're here. Up ILS. Up ILS. It is channel 1, so let's enter it. Up enter. Up enter. Up activate. And it's up. Switch back to TACAN. Up TACAN. Up TACAN. Let's bring that up on this screen over here. Left push 18. Set TACAN. That's 2 or 3 commands carried out under just that one voice input. So it's up here now. We want a cursor set, and we want it on 250. If we were going to put it in manually, we'd use this down here. My command is course left. It brought it up, but it's not pointing where I want. I want it pointing up there, but it says CSEL, so I know I can select it on the upfront keyboard. I want 250, so I'm going to tell it up 2, up 2, up 5, up 0, and that gives me a 0. Again, I could not get this program to understand 0 or 0. I tried several combinations, so I settled for 0, which means nothing. Let's enter that. Up enter. It's in. So now they're both up and running. Up TACAN. Turn the focus back to the TACAN, and pretty well set. And since we're almost down to the 10-mile mark, we'll check in with Mother. Radio. And here we are. I want to talk to ATC. F5. F5. Talk to the Stennis. F1. And tell them I'm inbound. F1. F1. That pretty much takes care of the easy part. This is Nomad. I'm back with you. And we've got the interface to VoiceAttack up. Okay, let's get back into this profile. Bring up Alt-E for edit and bring up my profile for the FA18. And this is one that's going to be in downloads. Let's create a listing of the commands in this profile. And if we look here, it says to export, use Alt-X. So let's do that. Alt plus X. And it brings up the profile in the export profile window. This is the one I want. They're all selected. You can select none, or if none are selected, select all. Don't want to do any editing here. We'll do that in a minute. Export. You can change the name here or where it's going. It's going to be over in VoiceAttack folder. The VAP file is their backup file. That is the settings file. So click on the Save Type As and pick HTML. And let's just put the word latest in here. Save it. Which of the columns do you want? I get commands, categories, and descriptions, and that's plenty. I don't need all the rest of this because I just want a listing of them. I'm going to say OK, and it's gone. Now I'm going to go look for that file. These I have set up to save in a folder on my desktop that I call DCS Docs. And a VoiceAttack folder. And here's that one. Remember, I put the word latest in there, so let's. My double click's not working well today. And here it is, opened in my browser. The sort commands still work on these. I typically use the category to sort on, but I don't have to do that. I'm going to select the everything using Control A plus A. Control A selects everything. I'm going to copy it with Control C. Let's open a new Word document, just a blank one. And we'll paste it in here with a Control V. V is in Victor. And here it is. Let's reduce the view a little bit so we can see a better one. This is a table. If you're not familiar with tables in Word, you may need to do a little research. I typically will take this, and on the repeats, there's 20 for the left DDI, there's 20 for the right DDI. There's no sense wasting printer ink on that many. I'll reduce that to 2 lines, one for left push and say 1 through 20, and right push 1 through 20, and then delete all the rows for all the rest of them. You may have to adjust column widths a little bit to get this on one line, or reduce your descriptions just a little. But with this I can get it onto, it's still 3 pages, because on top of this I will select them all and use this command here to put a little extra space between the lines, so it's a little more readable. I'll rearrange this a little bit because it doesn't come out, everything doesn't come out within the categories in the correct order, because in some cases I use numbers, some cases I spell the words out. So if you want to adjust for that, move the rows around, and you can print out a backup copy. I think that pretty much takes care of, and let's close this browser. We've seen the interface, an introduction to the interface and how to get the commands in there. It is relatively intuitive. A couple of things I needed to go to help for, but I think you can work your way through them. You can come up with your own profile, or use the download of this file as a model for creating your own. If you need the information on this page to get to my website for that download, this might be a good spot to pause the video, this video. You're looking for the subdomain on my website. It's in the middle of the page there, nomaddcs.johnacre.com, and URLs are not case sensitive, so don't worry about that. When you get to that next page, the VoiceAttack package will be number 5 on my web page. I'll leave this up for another couple of seconds here while we go, and then you can unpause it if you chose to pause it. And this is what the web page will look like when you get there. A lot of the standard information. I tell you where to, how to get to the download. There's a link to a bio of mine. I didn't update this frame except to show you on the second row in the middle cell. It says number 5, download will be here. So when you arrive at this web page, the link to that download is a clickable link in that center cell in the second row. You can also get back to any of the couple of previous downloads that are on this page. If you got some information you thought was valuable out of this video, I'd appreciate a like back over on that YouTube web page. And if you subscribe to this channel, YouTube will let you know when I drop my next video into their library. Have a good day and see you in the air. This is Nomad, and I am out of here.